We got it. We got it. Angle's good. Rule of thirds. Rule of thirds. Oz. Rule of thirds. Rule of thirds. Interesting background. We're ready to go. Lesson number 2. So, you did lesson 1. You introduced the topic. This next lesson, super easy. Let me just summarize it. Focus on talking about and looking at and going into Japanese traditional. And then for the rest of our students, practice Japanese traditional. Only Japanese traditional. Now I understand you're going to have some students who are like, I don't want to do Japanese traditional. That's okay. Again, there's differentiation resources in the back of your binder. Students can decide they just want to focus on another style. You know what? If they're there and they're engaged, let them focus on another style. But the point of this lesson is to focus on Japanese traditional. So what you're going to do is you're going to gather the students' attention, maybe play a game, do whatever to get their energy down so they can focus. And then you're going to say something along the lines of, okay, last week we introduced these 4 different styles. This week we're going to just focus on Japanese traditional. So what can anyone remember anything, those of you who were here last week, can anyone remember anything about Japanese traditional? You're going to get some answers. Maybe you won't get any answers. That's fine. Then you might say, well, let's look at some of these images, right? And so you're going to have reference images in the binder, okay? This is a little how to draw little image. That's good reference. You got a dragon, you got some waves and water, a koi fish, you got a tiger fighting a dragon, you got an example of Japanese traditional water, Japanese traditional clouds, and a little gnarled face there that's Japanese traditional. Also we got a cool Japanese traditional tree, another koi fish, and a tiger there. So you got some reference images, and so at that point you can talk to the students and say, well, let's look at these images. Like, what do you guys notice about these images? What are some commonalities between the different images? Do you notice some similar shapes throughout these images? Do you notice similar style choices throughout these images? Do you notice similar content? What do you notice about the shapes of the waves? What does the water look like to you? Do you think, you can do leading questions too, right? You can be like, do you think water is important to the Japanese traditional style? You can ask things like that. So you're basically just going in, you're reviewing in a more in-depth way Japanese traditional. You don't have to talk to the kids about the history of it. That's less important to me than the kids understanding the very specific things that are exclusively Japanese traditional. The shapes, the content, the style. So, like the stylistic choices in there, like how you draw a face. A tiger a photorealistic tiger is way different than a Japanese traditional tiger's face. So it's important to me that the students learn the style, not so much the history of it. If you are interested in the history of it and you wanted the students to learn that, you are totally welcome to look up the history of Japanese traditional, maybe sprinkle some of that in there. But once you go through and review Japanese traditional with the kids, then it's just basically an hour of them specifically trying to draw and make Japanese traditional content. And that's the second lesson. Easy as pot. Instead of doing 3 more videos the same exact way, I'm just going to say at the end of this video, this is how the next 3 lessons are going to be. You have reference images. You're going to go in and say, last week we did this week we're focusing on American traditional, this week we're focusing on new school, this week we're focusing on watercolor. And you're going to go through and you're going to look at reference images, you're going to Q&A with the students, have a little discussion, and then you're going to open up the time for the students to just try and focus on making images and designs in that style. And again, if students aren't into it, or if they're struggling with it, you can have them go online and look at examples and how to draw certain things. You can look at the differentiation resources in the back of the binder. You can, if a student doesn't know how to draw something and you don't have access to the internet and it's not in the resources in the back of the binder, you can look at the magazines to figure that out. That's what the magazines are for, just to figure out how to draw something. And then the question is, how do you take something from a magazine or the internet, right? Say a kid wants to learn how to draw a bear. How do you take a bear and make it Japanese traditional or American traditional, or how do you take a bear and make it new school? In the back of the binder, there are some like cartoon illustration guides. So if a student, and like for example, there's like cute animals in the back of the binder, how to draw certain cute animals, and that's really good for new school practice. Because a lot of times a new school tattoo of like a bird is just going to be like a cute little bird that looks cute. So that's the way the next 3 lessons are going to go after this one. So I'm not going to do videos for those. The next video I'll do, you'll see me do, is going to be about the process the artist takes while solidifying a design that they make. So that'll be a little bit more hands-on. I might have to move the camera around a little bit and show you guys what to do. And then in that lesson coming up, so that's not in like 4 weeks, right? So, but in that lesson coming up, there might be some sort of requirement of you to demo drawing something for the students. So just a heads up there. I know some of you do draw, some of you do sketch. That's really sweet and awesome, and I'm really happy about that. But yeah, thank you very much. I hope these videos are helpful again, and I'll see you around. Come visit the clubs, check on stuff, see how it's going. But yeah, thanks.